Good morning, Ms. Housinga. This is Administrative Law Judge Carrie Anderson. We're getting ready for the hearing on Mr. May's appeal.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to make sure, can you folks hear all right? Okay, good. I want to tell you who all is in the room. Mr. May is here, and then Teresa Bosting is here for the department, and Ms. Martins is here as a witness on behalf of Mr. May. Okay. I'm going to go ahead at this point then, unless I just want to make sure, any questions, any statements before we go on the record, Ms. Bosting?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. May?
No.
All right. All right, we are on the record today in case number 15008631. The appellant in this matter is Jason May. The Iowa Department of Human Services is the respondent. My name is Carrie Anderson. I'm an administrative law judge with the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals. Today's date is November 18th, 2015. This hearing is being conducted at the Wallace State Office Building in Des Moines, Iowa. Present today is the appellant, Jason May, and he has present with him a potential witness, Ms. Martins, Kimberly Martins. I also have present today Assistant Attorney General Teresa Bosting, who's representing the Department of Human Services, and Child Protection Worker Melissa Housinga from the Department of Human Services is participating by telephone today. At this point in time, I think, well, let's just deal with exhibits before we go any further. I do have the department has submitted one exhibit listed as Exhibit A. It is the Child Protective Services Child Abuse Assessment Summary, and it's my understanding, Mr. May, you've received a copy of that. Mm-hmm. And do you have any objection to my considering that document as part of the evidence?
No.
All right. Then the department's Exhibit A is hereby made a part of the record. I've also received a filing from Mr. May. He has listed exhibits marked A through E. And have you had an opportunity to review those, Ms. Bosting?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any objection to my considering any of those exhibits as part of the evidence?
No, I do not.
All right. The appellant's Exhibits A through E are hereby made a part of the record. And with that, we'll begin with opening statements. The purpose of an opening statement is not to present evidence. It's merely an opportunity for the parties to kind of paint a roadmap and explain to me what it is they intend to prove today. Both parties are entitled to give an opening statement. Neither party has to. We will start with the department. Ms. Bosting, is there any opening for the department?
We will waive our opening, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. May, is there any opening statement you would like to make?
No, I will also waive.
All right. Then I think we will go ahead with the presentation of evidence. Once again, the burden of proof in a case like this rests with the department. So we're going to start with the department's case. Ms. Bosting, would you call your first witness?
I will, Your Honor, but I will also begin by making a motion that we do sequester witnesses or potential witnesses. I understand Reverend Martins may be a witness in this proceeding. So,
all right. And
I have no objection.
All right, Ms. Martins, let's find you a comfortable place to sit until it's your opportunity to testify. All right, and Ms. Bosting, you call your first witness?
We will call as our first witness Jamie May.
Okay, so let me see if I remember how to do this. Ms. Housinga, I am going to try, somehow I have lost my telephone instructions here.
Don't make it easy.
I'm going to try to add a party onto this telephone call. If I lose you, I will call you back, okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Hello?
Jamie May?
Yes.
Ms. May, my name is Carrie Anderson. I'm an administrative law judge with the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals. I'm here in Des Moines, Iowa with the parties for an appeal hearing on an appeal filed by Jason May. I'm going to push a button. I'm going to try to add in Melissa Housinga from the Department of Human Services. If I cut you off, I will call you back shortly, all right?
All right.
Thank you. That wasn't it. Ms. Housinga, are you there?
I am.
Ms. May, are you there? Jamie May? Okay, I apologize. Folks, we're gonna go off the record for a minute and I'm gonna find the instructions for this phone. I apologize. These are completely different from our phones at our desks. There's an access code. Miss May, are you on the line? Ms. Housinga, are you there?
I am.
Okay, we're going to try this again. If I hang up on you, I'll call you back, okay?
Yes. Hello?
Hi, Miss May.
Hi.
We're going to try this again, okay?
Okay.
Miss May, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And Miss Housinga, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Whoa, thank you. We should just call it a day now because I've been successful. All right, folks, I'm going to turn the recorder back on. I tried to avoid the embarrassment of my technological shortcomings, so we're going to go back on the record. We're back on the record now in case number 1500861. I have added by telephone Jamie May. Miss May, let me tell you who all is in the room here today. I have Teresa Baustein, who is the Assistant Attorney General representing the department. Jason May is here as well, and then Melissa Housinga from the department is also on the line with us. Miss May, I need to swear you in before you can testify. Will you please raise your right hand?
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead, Ms. Baustein.
Could you state your name again, please, on the record?
Miss May, can you hear Ms. Baustein?
Not very well.
Okay. I'll speak up then. I was asking if you could state your name, please, on the record.
Jenny Lynn May.
And where do you reside, Ms. May?
2000 Iowa Avenue, Clinton, Iowa, 52736.
And are you employed, Ms. May?
Yes, I am.
And are you currently taking a break from your job in order to testify here today?
Yes, I am.
Do you know the appellant, Jason May?
Do I know him? Yeah.
And what is the nature of your relationship with Mr. May?
We are currently separated.
But you are married to Mr. May?
Yes.
And when and how long have you been separated?
For over 4.5 years.
Okay. And are you the mother of the child that was involved in this in the assessment that we are appealing, Dylan May?
Yes, I am.
And does Dylan reside with you?
Yes, he does.
And does he also see his father?
I'm sorry?
Does he also see his father
He hasn't seen his father since Mother's Day.
of this year?
He's seen him, I guess he hasn't had no alone time with them since Mother's Day of this year, yeah.
Okay, could you kind of give me a little more explanation of the nature of Dylan's visitation with his father?
Right now, he has none.
Okay. In May of this year, circa Mother's Day, what was the arrangements that you had with regard to Dylan visiting his father?
It was a weekend of a visitation that I let him. We used to agree on the visitation, and it was a weekend that he had.
Okay.
Ms. Bastian, I don't know if this would make it easier for you, if you would want to come up and
Come
take the
closer.
witness stand.
It
so you
might
don't
be.
have to-
It does feel like I'm yelling at her.
No way to turn your voice.
Miss May, were you referring to, I'll put some dates to it, the weekend of May 9th and 10th?
Right, and actually, it was actually different that weekend because Dylan had a baseball game Friday, so we let him take him Saturday, and he was going to keep him and send him to school Monday, and he would have went home after school on Monday. It was a different kind of weekend than normal.
Okay. So Dylan did visit his father beginning on the Saturday.
Right, he went to his dad on Saturday, correct.
Okay. And then what happened, to your knowledge?
I got woke up to tell me to come and get him, that he was done with them and he didn't want them anymore about 8:30 or 9 a.m. Sunday morning on Mother's Day.
Okay, you said you were awakened. Did you receive, is this a phone call? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
And who called you?
Jason.
And could you tell me again what it was Jason conveyed to you in that call?
He told me that he couldn't handle them anymore, to come and get them, and he was done with them.
Okay. Did you respond to that message from Mr. May?
I put my slippers on and I went straight. I was even in my pajamas still.
Okay. And then what happened when you arrived at Mr. May's home?
My son was screaming at his father, and Jason was crying on the couch.
Who else do you know if anyone else was in the home?
His girlfriend was there.
Okay. Did you see her that morning?
I think she was either in the bedroom or the kitchen. I was too busy trying to deal with my kids screaming.
Okay. And you said Dylan was screaming. Was he saying something that you were?
He was angry. He was yelling at his father.
And you say he was angry. Was he saying something?
He was mad because his dad didn't want him anymore. So I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact words. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I drug him out of the house to the car.
When you say you drug him out of the house, was Dylan, I mean, could you describe what exactly was your interaction with Dylan?
Yeah, I took him with me, and he was still screaming all the way across the car, across the street into the car. So, and Jay did walk out the door, but I didn't have time for him to say anything. I got Dylan in the car.
When Mr. May walked out of the house, you didn't say anything to him. Did he say anything to you while you were still in the house?
No, he was crying.
Okay. At some point, did Dylan tell you what had happened during his visit with his father?
What did he say to me?
At some point, first of all, did he tell you what had happened during his visit with his father?
When we got home, almost when we got home, is when he told me about the incident.
And what was the incident as related to you by Dylan?
His dad was, in Dylan's words, babbling, and Dylan told him to shut up, and Jason grabbed him by the throat.
And I mean, besides grabbing him by the throat, did Dylan tell you any more about what his dad did?
He showed me.
What did he show you?
How.
I'm sorry, what did he show you?
He showed me how his dad grabbed him.
And what did that entail? Where did he put his hands when he showed you?
He put his hands around his neck with his thumbs pushing into his windpipe.
Okay. Did he also tell you after he had told his father to shut up, did his father say anything to him?
If he did, I was not told. No, I just got told by the throat.
Okay. And were you, did Dylan convey to you whether or not he'd experienced any discomfort?
Yes.
What did he say?
He felt like he couldn't breathe.
Okay. Did you observe Dylan's throat after he?
Right.
What did you see?
There was no marks.
Okay. Were you in touch with Mr. May after you heard this from Dylan?
I was mad and I texted him.
What did you tell him? It's your recollection.
I asked him what happened, and he confirmed the throat, but he told me that he did it as a scare tactic, and he did not. I was making it more than what it was.
Okay. Did he deny putting his hand on Dylan's throat?
No, he did not.
Did he say anything about the amount of pressure he'd applied to Dylan's throat?
I'm sorry?
Did he say anything about the amount of pressure he had applied to Dylan's throat?
No, he told me that I was making it more. So I took it that he thought that he didn't squeeze.
Okay. Was there any further contact between your household and Jason May on that day? And we're referring to Sunday, correct?
Right. Dylan and Jason, I know, were texting on Dylan's phone.
Okay. And I think you already indicated to us that there hasn't been any more weekend visits since that day. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And what's the basis for that?
What was the what?
What's the basis for there being no further visitation?
He just got involved and we did a family plan, and I was told.
Eventually, was there? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Told not to, which at the point in time I wouldn't have anyway.
Eventually, during the course of the Department of Human Service involvement, was there a provision made for supervised visits?
Yes, there was.
So is it your understanding that Mr. May could have resumed visitation with his son under those?
It was supervised, yes.
Under those terms? Okay.
And he refused, is what I was told.
Okay. Have there, though, been instances in which Mr. May and Dylan have seen each other since Mother's Day of this year?
He showed up at Dylan's fifth grade graduation, so he's seen him for about 10, I believe. He came up at congratulations, so probably a 5-10 minute conversation there. In September, he did drop his birthday gift off, so there was a 10-minute probably there with me at home. And then he also dropped a Christmas gift off 2 or 3 weeks later, and it was about another 10 minutes drop off. Besides, I think he's seen him at Hy-Vee delivering popcorn for Boy Scouts also at one point in time this fall also. But besides that, he has not seen him at all.
Those are my questions, Ms. May. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. May, I'm going to give Mr. May an opportunity to cross-examine. So, Mr. May, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. On the day of the incident, did you or did you not tell Dylan that I could still take him to the movie, but it was too late because the movie had already started and he was upset?
I will admit I did tell him because I knew the movie was over at that point in time, so I didn't have to deal with an argument, yes.
And instead of letting me spend time with my son, did you sign him up for Big Brother's program?
I signed him up for Big Brothers and Big Sisters before the incident, so he had someone else as an adult role model, yes.
Since you and I have been separated, what's my visiting schedule with my son been like?
Well, what do we usually try? We used to try every other weekend. We started Wednesdays also. But every time you can't deal with your child, you give up, and we give about a 4 or 5 months at least gap.
In the DHS report, it lists numerous other, incidents that Dylan had told DHS about, such as the apartment, me smashing everything in the house and, things that happened before he was born. Can you tell the court who told him all these things?
I'm not for sure on some of the things. I know when he said something about the drumsticks, I was shocked myself, but I don't know. I even asked his therapy at the point in time and some of the stuff was when he was at a young age, not before he was born, if he could remember stuff back. And she said if it was tragic enough, he could possibly remember. That's what I got told by his therapist.
So he's never mentioned any of this, according to your knowledge available, he's never mentioned any of this stuff to his therapist or school counselor?
He's mentioned it all to his therapist.
And where were you during these supposed prior abuses?
The drumsticks?
Why we've gone through 5 or 6 DHS cases now. Why is this the first time anybody's hearing anything about any of this?
This is the first physical one. The rest was drug charges, and that was due to your other, and I knew him. And you have been found not guilty on every single one. And Dylan has been the last drug charge was your son telling a therapist about you doing it in front of him.
How often would you say does Dylan lie to you?
Dylan does not lie.
How often does he exaggerate?
I don't believe he exaggerates.
Not at all?
Not about you, no. About a football game, about scoring, about stuff like that, yes, but that's because he's a boy and he's a child. And all kids do that.
If I was so abusive, why did you remarry me after we were divorced the first time?
Because I was stupid.
Did you take Dylan to seek any medical attention after this incident?
Did I take what?
Seek any medical attention for any injuries or?
There was no marks on him, and I admitted to that. And he,
So he had no marks or lasting injuries of any kind?
not from the throat thing, no, he did not.
Was the care plan at your insistence or the DHS workers' insistence?
There was an agreement.
But who brought up the possibility of a care plan that you could sign to keep me from seeing my son?
DHS.
Did they ever at any time?
That's what I normally do.
Did they ever?
I'll let you see him anyway.
Did they ever at any time threaten to take Dylan from you if you let me see him?
No, they did not.
Did they ever threaten you with any court action for non-compliance with their order?
No, they did not.
Since we've been separated for over 4 years, why have you not filed for divorce from me yet?
Because the only way I can protect my son from you is by not being divorced.
So due to there not being a court custody agreement, that's why you don't divorce me?
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Ms. Bosting?
Just a few. Ms. May, you were asked about some of these other incidents that Dylan described in the DHS assessment, incidents such as things involving drumsticks and perhaps some other events. And I think you indicated those were events that occurred during his lifetime. Do you have a basis on which you have reached that conclusion that Dylan was alive and experienced these things?
Last two domestic charges were in 2008 and 2006. Dylan was born in 2004.
And what was the, do you know that the result of those, the domestic charges that you just referred to?
Right.
Do you know what the outcome was, what occurred in those proceedings?
The last time was when Jason broke his guitar and things went blind, and that is what Dylan is talking about. Jay was charged, but it was confirmed, but to the point that it would only be on his record, I don't know, something about for 7 years, like he didn't have to be on the child abuse registry, or I don't know what the exact terms were on that.
Okay. Were there criminal charges?
No, there was not. I got DHS involved then too, and we had someone from Family First that I think had to be in the home for at least 6 months.
If Mr. May had, if there was a record in the district court that there were charges, you wouldn't dispute that, though, would you?
What do you mean?
If in fact there is a public record that establishes that there were charges brought in the district court, you wouldn't dispute that, would you?
No.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Further questions, Mr.?
No further questions.
I'm
It's okay.
All right. Anything further for this witness? Ms. Bosting?
No, nothing further.
All right. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it. You can go ahead and hang up.
Thank you.
And Ms. Housinga, I'm going to probably have to disconnect that line. So if I hang up on you, I'll call you right back, all right? Okay. Are you there, Ms. Housinga? Just call Ms. Housinga back. That will be easier. Let me do it. Ms. Housinga, are you there? Ms. Housinga, are you there? No? All right. Ms. Housinga?
Yes.
Okay. Sooner or later. All right, and I apologize for that, folks.
Gotta love the digital age.
I'll tell you what, I've got my phone at my desk figured out, but this one is totally different. Ms. Bustine, for your witnesses?
We will call Melissa Housinga.
All right, Ms. Housinga, I need to swear you in. Will you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn your volume up a little bit because it's substantially different. All right, go ahead, Ms. Bostine.
Could you state your name, please, for the record?
Melissa Housinga.
And Ms. Housinga, if you can't hear me, please let me know.
Okay.
Am I coming through all right?
Yes.
And Ms. Housinga, with whom are you employed?
Department of Human Services.
And what is your position with the department?
Child protection worker.
How long have you performed in that capacity for the department?
Almost 5 years.
Okay. Could you give us sort of a brief recap of your education and any previous professional experience?
Yes, I have both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in social work, and I have previous experience in child welfare through behavioral health intervention services, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and several other interim positions.
In your capacity as a child protection worker for the department, did you receive a referral to conduct an assessment with regard to the child, Dylan May?
I did.
And what was the nature of, well, first of all, of the referral that you received?
The intake I received on 5/11/15 alleged that Dylan's father, Jason, was angry and grabbed Dylan's throat, pushing on his esophagus. There was concern that Jason purposely pushed hard on Dylan's esophagus to make it difficult for Dylan to breathe.
And initially, what was your role with regard to evaluating this family and this allegation?
The incident was initially signed as a family assessment for 72-hour observation, and I was assigned as the child protection worker.
Okay. And as you open an assessment, or perhaps during the process of conducting your assessment, do you have or review any background information with regard to the child and the family?
Yes.
Was there any history with the department with regard to this family?
Yes, the family has a significant history with the department.
Okay. And you saw Dylan during the course of your, I mean, you indicate you've got a 72-hour period in which to observe the child. You did see Dylan?
I did.
And where did you see Dylan?
Jamie May gave me permission to speak with the child at school, and I saw him at his school, Jefferson Elementary.
And how did Dylan describe the event between him and his father?
Dylan described that he spent the night with his dad, and they were playing around, and he told his dad to shut up. He said his dad grabbed him by the neck and pressed his thumb into his windpipe, which he identified as being below his chin on his neck. Dylan stated his dad pushed hard on his windpipe, and then called his mother to come and get him.
Did Dylan tell you anything about any any verbal exchange between himself and his father.
Yes, Dylan described that he and his father were yelling, and he yelled at his father, asking him if this is what he wanted, because his mother was coming to get him, and his dad said it was what he wanted.
Did Dylan convey to you or demonstrate to you, any, I guess what was his emotional or his demeanor as he reported these facts to you?
Dylan was pretty angry.
And did you have a sense of why Dylan was angry?
He was angry with his father for having done that, and fearful of his father for having done that due to his history, as Dylan described, of being aggressive when he's angry.
Okay. Did Dylan indicate to you when you saw him at school whether he was experiencing any discomfort from the incident, physical discomfort?
Yes, he did. He indicated that his neck was still a little bit sore and that it was difficult for him to swallow.
Did you observe any marks or any redness on Dylan's neck?
No, there was no outside indication of injury.
Okay. Did Dylan have any additional information to provide that he reported to you that day?
He did. Dylan talked about several previous incidents. He talked about an incident where his dad beat him with drumsticks when he was little, that he threw books at him and his mom because his mom had said something bad. He had also smashed a guitar, and there was a big pile of broken glass. He indicated basically several instances of domestic violence between his parents, and then he also indicated several previous DHS assessments.
Did you meet with Jamie May during the course of your assessment?
I did.
And what was the, did she have any information to add to the information you were developing?
Yes. Jamie indicated that following the incident that Jason had called her at 8:30 on a Sunday morning and told her he wanted to terminate his parental rights to his son Dylan, and that she went and picked up Dylan and found Jason crying on the couch. She didn't find out about Jason putting hands on Dylan until she got home with Dylan. Jamie also indicated that she had some fear of Jason and in regards to what he would do when he found out about this report, and that he had not been exercising his visitation since that incident.
At some point, did this did the nature of the assessment change from a family assessment to a child abuse assessment?
It did. On the 19th, I staffed the case with my supervisor, Tracy Gale, and she agreed to change the assessment from a family assessment to a child abuse assessment so that the department could continue to assure safety of Dylan.
Okay, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about what are the considerations for making that change. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. In a family assessment, in order to complete a family assessment, the department required me to be able to say at the time I closed my assessment that the child is safe without any other intervention. Jamie and I had agreed to a safety plan on my visit with her on 5/14 that Jason would not have further contact with the child or visitation until DHS had made those arrangements. And so in order to continue to assure the safety of Dylan, through that safety plan, the assessment needed to be changed over so that we could offer services. Did
you speak with Mr. May during the course of your assessment?
I did. I received a voicemail and talked with Jason on 5/22 and informed him of the allegations. And at that time, Jason was not willing to meet with me without a court order.
At the conclusion of your work, did you make some findings and determinations with regard to the alleged incident of abuse?
I did.
And what findings did you arrive at?
My report was founded for denial of critical care failure to provide proper supervision. Given the concern that Jason acted physically aggressive towards the child by grabbing him by the neck and pressing his thumb into his windpipe. Although I felt the child did not receive a physical injury requiring a healing process, at least externally, he did report significant pain as long as 2 days after the incident and reported significant fear that the father would continue to be physically aggressive towards him and fear of his past physical abuse towards his mother and himself.
Did you reach any conclusions, your conclusion with regard to registry placement?
Yes, the report was registered. The report was placed on the child abuse registry.
And what was your rationale for reaching that result?
Given the history of physical aggression, both to the child and domestically towards the mother, I felt the incident was not minor, was not isolated, and I couldn't say it was unlikely to reoccur.
Those are all I have. Thank you, Ms. Housinga.
Mr. May, cross-examination?
Yeah. Were you ever involved in any of my prior cases with DHS?
Yes, I believe I was the CBW on one prior report.
And what was the results of that prior report?
I don't recall exactly, but I believe it was a not confirmed assessment.
Isn't it true that when you came to my home unannounced on that report that I had to have you removed by police?
No.
So I didn't have to call 911 to have you removed from my property by Officer Housinga and his supervisor?
No.
I move to go off the record.
No. If you've got something, what do you need to deal with? We don't need to go off the record.
Sure we do. She's lying under oath.
That doesn't mean you go off the record. If you have something you want to impeach her testimony with.
At this point in time, she's committing perjury.
We do not go off the record, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you're saying that I did not call 911 that day?
No, that's not what I said.
Did the police respond that day?
The police did respond to your home on that day, yes.
And ultimately, what happened?
At the time, I was speaking to, I believe it was your girlfriend at the moment, on the front porch with her agreement and compliance. I believe you called the police, and they arrived at your home, and you asked them to remove me from your property, and they explained to you that I was not on your property, I was on a public sidewalk.
On what authority do you enforce a care plan?
I'm sorry.
On what authority do you have to create a care plan? Like a custody management plan?
The safety plan that I put in place with Jamie?
Yes. On what authority do you have to create a safety plan where a father cannot see his child?
The state gives me the authority, I guess, to do that. The safety plan is simply a written agreement between parents and DHS to keep the child safe. Exactly,
but when someone is still married and there is no court-ordered custody agreement, what gives you the actual authority to be able to make that call without a judge's order or any other kind of a court process to say that you can't see your child?
Well, there's no, I don't have any really enforcement authority on that. It's just an agreement between the parties.
So ultimately, when you get a call and you just show up at their house with paperwork saying you have to see their children and police are called, is that standard operating procedure for Clinton DHS or the state of Iowa's DHS offices?
I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question. There was some disruption on the line.
Okay. When you get a call to DHS and you're told to go investigate said parties and you randomly just show up at their house, are there any other times where people call police and have you removed from their property? Is that a commonplace event?
I guess I'm not sure how to answer that question, Mr. May, because you're referring to an incident that didn't occur. I guess my answer would be, is it commonplace for the police to be involved in my investigation? Yes. Is it commonplace for my clients to call the police regarding my presence at their home? No.
After being told to leave several times, at what point did you leave?
Are we still talking about a prior assessment?
Yes, I am.
Because I don't have anything to do with any prior assessments. I am interested in what happened.
But I do, because it shows the groundwork that the reason that she is founding this report and boosting this up to an abuse assessment is for prior incidents that she has resentment against me, and so does the entire Clinton DHS office. It's showing the fact that they're willing to continually belliger me and harass me.
I will, just hold on. I will let you ask a few more questions along this line, but we are not going to spend all day on prior assessments. I am interested in this assessment.
I understand. I'll move on. Did you ever, on this assessment, did you ever get a statement from me regarding this assessment?
Yes.
And what was that statement?
You said you were not willing to meet with me without a court order.
And did you at some point attempt to get this court order?
No.
At any time, did any of this paperwork go to the police department or the county attorney's office?
I'm sorry, what paperwork?
This assessment, I would assume if it went to being a physical abuse assessment that it...
It's not a physical abuse assessment, Mr. May. It was not founded for physical abuse. It was founded for denial of critical care. Are you asking if Ms. Housinga...
I'm asking if this...
Hang on, just hang on. Are you asking if Ms. Housinga referred this complaint to the police department?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Housinga, can you answer that?
I did not.
And was it at any time turned over to the county attorney's office?
The county attorney's office received copies of all our reports, yes.
And what were their findings?
The county attorney does not make findings in regards to child abuse assessment.
What was the end result of their review of the child abuse assessment?
I can't speak to that.
Were charges ever filed?
I can't speak to that. My job is to evaluate child abuse. Criminal charges are done through the police department and other law enforcement agencies.
Is it odd to have someone have this many prior reports and never lose a child from their custody or never have any charges in court filed against them?
No.
I have no further questions.
Redirect.
believe so, thank you.
All right. All right, do you have any further witnesses, Ms. Bosky?
No, we have no further witnesses.
All right. I would suggest then, let's see what time it is. We've been going for about an hour. Why don't we take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll start, when we come back, we'll start with your witnesses, Mr. May?
Okay.
All right. I am not, well, I don't know, Ms. Housinga, do you have anything you want to do in this 10 minutes? I can hang up so you can use your phone and call you back.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll just hang out here.
Okay, I'm just going to leave the line open then. I am going to turn the recorder off. We'll go off the record, and we'll reconvene in about 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
I was going to say, I'm not going to be callers.
Number 1500861. It's my understanding the department has rested. Is that correct, Ms. Bosky?
That is correct.
All right, Mr. May, we're ready for your case. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to call a witness, or do you want to testify first?
I'll call Kimberly Martins as my first witness.
All right, do you want to go out and get her? Thank you.
She's on her way.
Okay. Reverend Martins, would you please come on up here and have a seat, and I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. May.
Ms. Martins, can you please state your name for the court?
Kimberly Martins.
Are you employed?
Currently I am, yes.
Where do you work?
For a steady paycheck, I work at the Comanche Public Library as a library assistant, and on the side I am an ordained reverend.
How many hours of work are you missing to be here today?
My schedule today was about 4 hours.
Can you tell the court what happened on the day in question that this report was made on?
Yes? Where would you like me to start?
Start with in the morning when I got up and asked Dylan what he wanted for breakfast.
I was in the bedroom. I was still not currently dressed at the time. Heard Mr. May ask his son Dylan what he would like to do for breakfast. We were planning on going to a movie later that day. Kind of wanted to get going. To which Dylan's reply originally was, you know, kind of a normal teenager, I don't know, kind of thing. To which Mr. May gave him a few minutes, you know, gave him some options as to what he could choose, and then said, you know, Dylan, we want to make sure we're on time for the movie and everything. You know, you need to decide what you want for breakfast. To which Dylan's reply was, shut up. And the tone of voice used was very negative. It wasn't just a shut up kind of thing that a normal teenager does. It was a kind of a violent, very disrespectful shut up. At that point, I got up out of bed I was going to start to get dressed because I don't approve of that kind of thing in my home either. And I heard Mr. May go out to approach where Dylan was at, so I walked over to the curtain that we have that provides a doorway for us. It does have a small hole in it that you can view out of. What I saw was Mr. May approach Dylan on the couch and if I can demonstrate.
I can let her demonstrate on me if that would
Well,
please the court.
you
so
can
she can
demonstrate
see.
on yourself, but I need you to say it as
I'll
well
state
because
it.
we have to.
But
pick it
Mr.
up.
May took his hand, the side of his hand was to the side of Dylan's neck, placed his thumb at his chin, put his chin up to force him to look into his face, and said, "Are you done telling people to shut up? You're not going to do that here. It's disrespectful. I'm not having it." And then he let go. To which point, Dylan started getting upset and crying. Again, there was no act of squeezing, no act of the thumb being to the trachea, anything like that. He simply forced Dylan to look at him as he disciplined him for being rude. So, and again, Dylan did start to get upset and cry, but I will also state, I have also seen Dylan get upset and cry when Mr. May has verbally told him, "No, you're not going to do something like that. It's not correct." He just doesn't do well with being disciplined. He never seems to have been able to do that very well in the house. So,
After everything had transpired and Jamie had came to get Dylan and everything, what conversations do you know of took place between Dylan and I that day that apparently he didn't talk to his mother about?
well, I do know that there was text conversing between Mr. May and his son. The question of whether or not going to a movie again, whether or not to continue to go to the movie had been brought up, to which I know I read Dylan's response to that was, "Mom's not going to let me ever see you again." I know Jamie had called. I can't verify the entire conversation because I was not listening to the conversation. He had the phone placed to his ear and I was still sitting in the vehicle driving. I could overhear a lot of screeching and screaming at Mr. May from Mrs. May, and Jason, informing her back, "I did not choke him, you need to listen, this is not what happened," and with Jamie still screeching and screaming, and then Simon basically hitting the phone button. You could hear the very loud, release or click, I guess is the way to put it, for the phone being off. We were in Walmart searching for some items, and this is where he was having a lot of text conversation with Dylan. Dylan stating things such as, "No, it's my fault, I shouldn't have, said shut up like that," stuff like that. Basically, that's the gist of the conversations I can remember with most of it, is Dylan basically stating that he knows he shouldn't have said what he said, that it was wrong, and Mrs. May screaming and yelling at Mr. May was the majority of it, and then not allowing, Dylan to go to the movie as planned. I'm sorry, I do need to correct that. Towards the end of that conversation, about 10 minutes before we were supposed to go see the movie, Mrs. May suddenly relented and said that he could go, but she also knew we were not going to be able to take him at that time. It would have been too much time, it has to be too late to go.
How many times since the event have I seen Dylan?
To
the best of your knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge, you've physically seen him twice. There was one evening in question for Dylan's birthday that I was asked to drive Mr. May to Mrs. May's home at Mrs. May's request, because for Dylan's birthday, he had received a gift from Mr. May and Mr. May's mother that goes for his Xbox gaming system that he has. And Mr. May did not deliver that gift, his mother did. But Mrs. May called, "Well, we don't know how to do this. We can't get this set up right. You need to come over." That was the gist of the phone call for that. So I had to drive him to the home, so that he could put the box, get the Xbox Live, I think it is, card that he got. I'm not a gaming system person, so you'll have to excuse me. I don't do the gaming stuff, so I kind of don't always know everything as far as what the systems are called, but he had to go and basically set up the account and get the card and everything going for him so that his machine would properly work for his gift. And at that time when Mr. May came back out, he told me, Dylan had given him a hug, he kissed him on the cheek. And there's no offense, I've read the paperwork, I know Dylan's statement is that he's afraid of his father. No child that's willingly hugging and kissing on his dad is afraid of his father. I'm sorry. And no parent that is terrified that they're going to do something to their child is going to allow the other parent to come over or ask them to come over. But I know that's opinion statement and probably doesn't count. But and then the second time, to my knowledge, I was not physically there, but I came home from work and was informed by Mr. May, I believe it was only 2 weeks ago, that Dylan had been in the neighborhood with a friend and had stopped to visit his father. Again, to me, that would show that if the child was afraid, he would not stop and visit his father, knowing his father was there as well.
Also, how often do you see Dylan and I conversing, say, on Xbox? Or playing games together?
I would say, as far as what I've heard, probably like maybe once a week or so. I know there was quite a few days where Dylan was calling. I was present. Dylan was calling. I think it was last week, wasn't it? It was
Yeah, he was sick last week from
He
school.
was sick. I'm sorry.
And I just want to, I need to stop right here. You can't have a conversation.
I'm sorry.
You can ask a question.
I apologize.
You can respond, okay?
Okay. Either this last week or the week prior, Dylan was sick, home from school for several days. Each day, I noted, because I was present either before work or after work, I had noted that Dylan had called his father to speak with him every day. If he did not speak on the phone, he would converse with him through the Xbox, through gaming.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination, Ms. Busting.
Thank you. Ms. Martins, I'm going to ask you, I want to make sure I understand what you observed on the day of the incident.
Yes.
I think you testified that Dylan was and his father were having a conversation about breakfast, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Dylan was sitting on the couch, is that?
Yes, ma'am. He was playing a game.
Okay, and where was Mr. May vis-a-vis Dylan?
For where he was prior to Dylan telling him to shut up?
Well, did someone move during the course of this conversation?
Well, Mr. May originally was going, I believe, to the kitchen or to the restroom at the time, because again, I did not get up to veer through the hole until I heard Dylan tell him to shut up. But I do know that he was outside of the living room, so he was either in the kitchen or he was in the restroom, which the house is not very large, so it's pretty easy to converse throughout the whole house with someone.
And so at the point when you did then move to observe
Yes.
The living room, because you heard...
I heard Dylan's commentary.
You heard Dylan tell his father to shut up.
Yeah.
Then where was Mr. May?
When I did observe, Mr. May had reappeared to the living room and was standing in front of the couch where Dylan May was sitting.
Okay. And how far, this curtain is between the doorway of your room?
This curtain hangs in the doorway of our room.
Between your room and
the living room.
Hang on. You can't talk over
Okay.
Ms.
sorry.
Busting.
Okay.
And it's just, I know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's just that it doesn't pick up very well on the recorder.
I don't
so.
testify a lot.
I know. I understand.
So the couch was that on the opposite wall from where you were observing?
The couch we have is, you can see in the exhibit pictures, it's a wraparound couch.
Okay.
So it wraps all the way around half of the living room.
Okay. And about how big a room is the living room?
Oh, good grief. I'm horrible with measurements. I don't know, maybe 15 by 20 at the most. That's given it a lot of credit. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with measurements.
And you just indicated that it's a wraparound couch.
Yes, ma'am.
So was Dylan sitting on, I guess, the side of the couch that was kind of perpendicular?
He would have been sitting, looking out through the curtain hole. He was sitting on the far right.
Okay. And Mr. May was then in front of him?
Yes.
Okay. And so you were seeing like the right side of Mr. May's body?
I was seeing the right side of Dylan and the left side of Mr. May.
And they're about, maybe, 10, 12 feet away from you?
At the very, I don't even think it's 10 feet away. It's a pretty short distance.
And you said that after Mr. May tipped Dylan's head up and conveyed his disapproval of Dylan's behavior, you said Dylan then began to cry, is that right?
Yeah.
Was there any more conversation between the two of them?
Mr. May had just reaffirmed the fact that that's not, he's basically, why are you crying over this? He didn't feel it was worth, Dylan going into tears over, because he, again, to view it, nothing appeared to have been hurt or physically, there was no real true physical altercation, really. So he had asked him, why he's crying, to which Dylan would not, and Dylan has had a habit of doing this when Dylan is not happy with his dad, he just refuses to speak.
And then, were you in proximity when Mr. May called Jamie May to come and get her son?
Yes, I was.
And did you hear, at this point, was Mr. May upset?
Well, yes.
And you heard him say something to the effect that he wanted to terminate his parental rights.
He said something along those lines that, if that's how it's going to be, that's probably what he should do.
And he said this within the earshot of Dylan, correct?
Dylan would have been able to overhear it, yes.
Did Dylan react with anger upon hearing his father say that?
Dylan didn't react at all.
So there was no...
He refused to speak.
So there was no screaming on the part of Dylan?
There was no statement made from Dylan James May until he left the home, crossing the street with his mother.
He said nothing in the house there with Mr. May and yourself?
He refused to speak.
Okay.
If he said anything, it was too quiet for me to hear.
And now later I think you've also indicated that there were some conversations later in the day, and some of these conversations were phone conversations and some of it were apparently texting.
Yes,
correct? And in both instances, you were not the party involved in the conversation, right?
No.
So you're hearing one side of the phone conversation, correct?
I am hearing one side of the phone conversation, and the only other thing being heard again would be the screaming and the loud voice from the other end of the phone. And did I hear what every word stated was? No.
And in terms of texting, you weren't. At some time, maybe later, did you observe any of the texts or?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And the texting, though, that was between Mr. May and his son?
Yes.
And the phone conversation was between
Jamie May.
Jamie and Mr. May.
Yeah. There, I believe, I'm not sure if there was a phone conversation between Dylan and Jason at that time, or during that day. I know there was text. I did not stay by Mr. May's side in the department store the whole time we were there.
Are you aware that Mr. May could have visited his son with supervision at any time since this assessment was completed?
Was I aware of it?
Yes, were you aware of that?
No.
Mr. May has not had Dylan to his home, though, since May of this year?
Well, when Dylan stopped to visit him.
2 weeks or so ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And the only reason I can state that is usually because Jamie May does not allow so. And that has been prior to this incident.
I went to scoop.
Right?
Yeah, I went to scoop my chair in and hit
I have
the.
been
Hang
away.
on, hang
I'm
on,
sorry.
just a minute, please.
I just
You
went.
okay?
Yeah, I just whacked my knee under the table.
Okay.
I've been with Mr. May for over a year and a half. In that period of time, Dylan has been to our home less than a dozen times. Not by Mr. May's insistence, but by Mrs. May's. Even before this incident, if Jason sneezed wrong, Dylan was not allowed to show up.
Isn't it a fact that many times, though, when Mr. May does invite his son over, the visits are cut short by Mr. May?
The visits are cut short usually because there is a disagreement between Mr. May and his son.
And
I will be honest with that.
And Mr. May calls Ms. May and tells her to come and get her son.
Or Dylan has called his mother as well. That has occurred on a couple occasions. Because they don't wish to be fighting with each other.
I think that's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Let me ask you a question, just because I'm trying to get the sense of what that household felt like that morning. When you observed Jason holding Dylan's face and talking to him, was Jason angry?
He was upset the same way I think any parent. I'm a parent of 2 children. I have a 20-year-old son and I have a 10-year-old daughter. So after 20 years of raising a boy, I can tell you that if my 10-year-old son had said shut up to me in the tone of voice that was used by Dylan over a very simple question, what do you want for breakfast? And, excuse me, but the tone of voice used by Dylan, if he could have incurred the F word into shut up and thought he could get away with it, it would have been there. Because that's the tone of voice used.
So
I also probably would have taken the same action. I would have been upset with my son, and I probably would have done the
understand all
same
that.
thing. So
My question was he angry?
Yeah, he was upset.
Okay.
I wouldn't go as far as say like angry, but
Okay.
he was upset as a parent should be, yeah.
And I agree with you that this stuff happens between kids and parents all the time. So my question is, why would Jason be saying he should terminate his parental rights?
Because and again, I'm only going to testify to the fact of a year and a half because that's how long I've been with Mr. May. But it's not very difficult if you were to observe Jamie May and Jason May together in a room. They are a volatile combination. There is a reason they are not together. There is a reason they should not be together. I think water and oil blend better, if you want the truth, by any observation. And it doesn't take a counselor or a rocket scientist to see this. Jamie, on several occasions, even in my presence, has no problem with informing Dylan that his father is, excuse my terminology, but I'm saying straight out verbatim, piece of shit. She says this in front of their son. I have also heard her turn around 10 minutes later and inform Dylan, since they get into an argument, him and Jason, inform Dylan that he's just like his father. Now, as a child,
but
I would be
wait a
upset.
minute. And I understand that you have no love lost. It's very clear for
I-
Jamie May.
I don't.
Wait,
I respect she's a parent, though.
please, and let me ask the question.
Okay.
It's very clear that you have your differences with Jamie May.
I do.
What I'm trying to get at is, if this was not a huge deal,
Mm-hmm.
why was Jason crying on the couch and saying he should terminate his parental rights and that he shouldn't see Dylan any longer?
Because of the history of the fact that when they try to get together, his relationship with Dylan has been, I'm trying to find the right word, deterred, I guess, by Jamie and her family so often that it feels like, you know, he'll go for months with Jamie saying, well, you're not seeing him, you're not doing this right, you're not seeing him, you're not seeing him. And then it'll be a case of, she wants to go to a concert. Well, here, you know, you can have your son this night.
Okay.
That's the kind of a relationship that has been, that's the only relationship that's been encouraged
Okay.
with him. So I can kind of see, you know, after doing all this for years and years, it's kind of a defeatist attitude, I would probably state. You know, I mean, it's kind of depressing to know you have this child and the mother is so overbearing with things that, you know, you barely get to see this child.
Okay. You've answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the only question that I have for you. Do you have redirect for this witness?
No.
All right. Thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate your time. Since,
Would you like me to leave again?
and that's what I'm going to ask, since the Reverend Martins has testified, is there any reason that she needs to leave, Ms. Bosting?
No.
Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat if you like. Mr. May, did you wish to testify?
No, I do not.
Okay. Any further evidence on behalf of the appellant?
I do have these. I let Ms. Baustein take a look at these earlier, if it pleases the court. These are the LSI. These are all I was able to get from them so far. I didn't get them till very, very late and wasn't able to make copies and mail them.
Ms. Boston, have you had an opportunity?
I have glanced at them. I've glanced at them.
Do you have any objection to?
I do not. There
Okay.
are reports that were generated by my client. No.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and I'll mark them as appellant's exhibits F and G. And after we close the record, I'll make copies and give them to everybody. So other than that, so appellant's exhibits F and G are hereby made a part of the record. Any further evidence, Mr. May?
Nope.
All right. Rebuttal evidence for the department? Do you want a minute? I can go make these copies now if you want a minute to think about rebuttal.
Yeah, I just need a minute to think about it. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm gonna do then, we'll go off the record. I'll go make copies of these exhibits so everybody has them, and we'll give Ms. Bosting a moment here.
Okay.
LSI report dated August 21st, 2015 has been marked as Appellant's Exhibit F, and the next report from LSI dated September 21st, 2015 has been marked as Appellant's Exhibit G, and those have been admitted into evidence now. Ms. Boston, any rebuttal for the department?
No, we will have no rebuttal, thank you.
All right, then unless there's an objection, I'm going to go ahead and close the evidentiary record at this time. Any objection, Ms. Boston?
No objection.
Mr. May?
No objection.
All right, the evidentiary record is closed, and we'll move on to closing statements. Ms. Boston, any closing for the department?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you. I think obviously the significant issue here will be the credibility determination that you will make, Your Honor, as to what actually happened on the morning of I believe it was May 10th, in Mr. May's home. And there's no denying a few things that occurred. I mean, both Dylan's reports to Ms. Housinga and certainly confirmed by Ms. Martin this morning is they don't deny that Mr. May did call Jamie May on that morning and tell her to come and get her son. That he also conveyed to Miss May in the presence of Dylan that he wanted to terminate his parental rights, that he was done with his son, and that's the kind of statement that you make. That's a heated statement. That's not a calm statement. We're supposed to be buying a picture that somehow Mr. May just calmly disciplined his son. That there was no, although he was upset, that this was a ordinary parental moment, and that Dylan had no response to that. To overhearing his dad say that he wanted nothing more to do with him, that he wanted to terminate his parental rights. And Miss May described that when she got there, there was clearly something had happened that morning that was upsetting to both people. She said that Mr. May was sitting on the couch crying, as one might expect one to be as a response to the kind of discussion that he had, and that Dylan was in fact very angry, as one might also expect to be a response by a 12-year-old child to hearing his father say such a thing about him. Although Miss May was not there for to actually see the incident, I think her account of what the aftermath matches the emotions that she observed in a way that what we're being told this morning does not seem to match up. Her son, she later then told her that that he admitted that he had said shut up to his dad. He wasn't denying his part in the initiation, but then said that his father had grabbed him by the neck and pressed his thumb into Dylan's windpipe, making it hard for him to breathe. He was uncomfortable, and he felt that the pressure was hard. Dylan has told that to Miss May, told that to Ms. Housinga. He's been consistent about that, and he's expressed that there was some discomfort. No one has claimed that there were any marks. No one has exaggerated that this created a bruise or anything. It's if people wanted to make up something, you could make that up too. But no one has claimed that there were any marks at any time. They're speaking merely of the kind of the risk of placing this pressure to his neck, of creating this fear in the child by the way his neck was grasped. Dylan has experienced his father's reaching to a point of aggression on other occasions. He's seen this in his home when his parents resided together. He's apparently seen this on other instances where when Mr. May snaps and incidents of aggression have occurred, things like the domestic violence that Miss May described, that Dylan recounted when he was talking to Ms. Housinga. Dylan's a child. There are undoubtedly are aspects of why his dad does what he does that the child does not understand. He just knows that there appears to be like just something occurs and boom, his father reacts in an unexpected way and in a physically aggressive way in all too many occasions. He gets too aggressive. It was the child's response when he gets angry, he gets aggressive, and that's when the child noted he can be afraid of his father when this occurs. And certainly having your neck grabbed, having your father's thumb pushed into his windpipe, undoubtedly was just such a moment that caused him fear. And there's a history. There's history, as Ms. Housinga noted, in as her reason for founding this report. We've heard today. I mean, I think there's a few other points. It's Mr. May's contention that somehow this is something Jamie May has created these sensibility, but once again, it was Mr. May who called Miss May on the morning, as opposed to working out, settling down, having a sound conversation with his son Dylan after Dylan's incident of rudeness. He's the one who then promptly got on the phone, called Miss May, told her to come and get her son, said, I'm done. I want to terminate my parental rights. I think that is exactly what Dylan is describing. His father just goes, emotional reaction, an aggressive reaction, it's instantaneous. And that I think that sort of confirms what he himself did, sort of confirms Dylan's own conclusions about his father's erratic temper that generates the fear. And here it's not merely an emotional response. His father has reacted physically aggressively, not only on this instance, but on others as well. Mr. May also has a theory that somehow the Clinton Department of Human Services has some sort of vendetta against him, but he's also noted that with Ms. Housinga that she didn't make any referral to law enforcement. She did not seek removal. I mean, the circumstances aren't there, but if we're saying if it's his contention that somehow Clinton Department is doing all these things, there's no basis in fact for that.
Your Honor, I would like to object at this point.
What is your objection?
I have other evidence. I didn't want to bring it out, but I have other phone calls, actual audio tapes of other DHS workers and the way that they approach me and the way that they approach trying to get into my home and telling us that if you don't bring your kid in here within the next few hours, we will be there to take your child. I have that on audio.
Your objection is overruled. The evidentiary record is closed. Ms. Boston is simply making...
She's still trying to present more evidence, and there's no evidence here.
She is not presenting additional evidence. She's addressing the contention that you raised during your cross-examination of Ms. Housinga. She's allowed to do that on the closing argument. Go ahead, Ms. Boston.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Mr. May did not testify, I want to, but his exhibits are in the record, and I think it's appropriate. I think to make this connection so that the record is clear on this is I think Mr. May's Exhibit D lists a number of prior child abuse reports, which he simply identifies as resolved in his own notations. I think it's important to note that his report there does not disclose one of the reports that is listed on page 2 of our exhibit of Exhibit A, 20130491115. That one is omitted from Mr. May's report, and it's listed in our Exhibit A because it was a confirmed report that was upheld on an appeal, and I just would like the record should reflect that some reason he omitted that from his list. I don't know what he intends to, by the word result means, but, it should be noted for the record that he does have a prior confirmed report, albeit not within, the 18 months of this report. I'm not suggesting that, Your Honor. I'm just suggesting that Mr. May's list prior appeals is incomplete. In summation, this is not a physical abuse case. There's not a contention that the child incurred an injury which required a healing period. The child credibly reported that his neck was grabbed by his father, that his neck was squeezed, that there was pressure to his throat. And there was some lasting discomfort the following day. He has noted that his father's anger and his sort of erratic temper, something for which Mr. May is known, it caused the child finally to be fearful of his father. And I think this, as Ms. Housinga testified, this is not the kind of discipline in supervision, including not the kind of discipline that a reasonable and prudent caregiver would provide. And that given this sort of history of erratic behavior, of temper, of rages, that it's by no means can we conclude that this was minor and isolated, unlikely to reoccur, which provides the basis for which it should be on the registry, remain a founded report, and we'd ask that this tribunal make that determination.
All right, thank you. Mr. May, this is your opportunity for a closing statement.
I have no closing statement.
All right. Well, I want to thank the parties for their time today. I do appreciate your presentations. I'll take the matter into consideration. I'll be issuing a written decision that you'll receive in the mail. I want to make sure I still have a good address for you, Mr. May. I have you at 551 2nd Avenue South in Clinton. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. I'll send my decision to you there. Both parties, both the department and you, Mr. May, have the right to appeal for my decision if either one of you is unhappy with it. I'll enclose a cover letter with the decision that explains how to file an appeal. But if neither party appeals my decision, it will become the final decision. Thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.